2, 1. Hello, Shinya and Carrie from Battenwear. Nice to have you on the Ponytail show.
Thanks for inviting us.
That's a real pleasure. You guys are over in LA in your studio right now. Is that right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
cool.
cool.
Our studio is in Topanga Canyon, right in the middle of the canyon. So it's very beautiful outside.
Oh, wow. I've never been to that part of the world, so it sounds
You
very
would love
exotic and beautiful. Yeah. Is it kind of mountainous or like?
Yeah, it is. And then if you drive like 10 minutes, you can see ocean, Topanga
wow.
Canyon Beach. Yeah, PCH.
Yeah. Nice.
So sometimes he'll drop me off at the office and then take the kids to the beach and then come back. And we have a nice little setup. We go hiking during the day and in the evenings now that it's getting hot. Yeah, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, that's a real nice setup.
Yeah, our office is in the middle of a canyon, so our house is in the other side
of the mountains. Yeah,
so we just going to the office.
You have to climb up the mountain to go to the office every day.
Yeah.
Shinya's like,
exactly. And then going to the other side for surfing. Yeah.
That's so nice. That's like a really nice like life that you've carved out there for you guys. Yeah. Like, because when I met you guys a while back, you were in New York. You were in the garment district. So obviously, like, a lot has changed since then.
We were thinking about what was the last time we saw you, and I think it might have been at a trade show or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I know we've been in touch by email, but I don't know what the last time we saw you in person.
I feel like I've seen Mitch a lot, and then I've just vicariously seen you through Mitch, like as in just heard about what you've been up to. But yeah, for folks out there who don't know much about Battenwear or don't know at all, would you be able to like kind of give us a rundown of like how it started, how the idea started, and where it's taken you?
Yeah.
Do you wanna? Yeah. Go ahead.
So we started it in 2011, right?
2011 in
spring 2011. Before that, Shinya had been designing with Woolrich Woolen Mills with Daiki Suzuki and Mark McNary. And then, so then he started the brand. I was just going to help out a little bit. Just like do a little bit of light bookkeeping. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just lightly.
A little bit.
Just a little tiny bit.
But, can you do this?
Yeah. Can you handle sales? How about PR?
Yeah. How about everything?
And we started it in the garment district, which was really fun because all of the factories were right around the little office space we had rented. And we got the chance to make friends with a lot of people in the neighborhood, and it was great. And everything sort of progressed. We started hiring staff. Mitch joined us. We had a couple other key people over the years. And then we had kids. And we got to a point where our little one bedroom in Brooklyn wasn't big enough for a company and 2 children. So I grew up in this area. We actually moved back to my hometown. And my parents are still here. So my dad helps with the kids. And we sort of did bi-coastal living for a while. At least one of us was in New York for every month.
Yeah, I used to go to New York like every month.
Yeah,
that's
for at
a
least
lot of traveling.
Yeah, we had about a quarter of the year in New York, which still didn't feel like enough, but it also felt like too much in other ways. And then in February, things started getting a little bit crazier with the pandemic looming, and Mitch at the same time was planning to go back to school and had been planning for some time. So we knew that he was going to be leaving at the end of February. And we were thinking about hiring somebody new, maybe in New York, maybe here. But yeah, then the pandemic hit, and now it's just the two of us running the show. And we, when we started it, sorry, this is getting a little rambly, but when we started it, it was basically to make really good, comfortable, well-constructed, long-lasting clothing, the kinds of stuff that the more you wash and wear it, the more it feels like your clothes. Things that Shinya had been thinking up for years and finally got to make when we started the company. And now that it's just the two of us doing it again, of course, there are a lot of challenges. Of course, it hasn't been hard, but it's actually been really kind of awesome in other ways because we get to connect directly with our customers. We get to learn more about what they want and why they want it. I used to have like the buffer of Mitch where I would say, can you respond to all of these people? But now I'm responding to them and learning so much more than I would have otherwise.
Yeah. Same as me. And then, we used to have a production manager and an assistant designer. And then now I have to handle by myself. And I need to go to the factory and I need to communicate with the manager. And then, when I started at the beginning, we started in tiny living room in a Brooklyn apartment. And then, we get back to, like the origins.
Yeah, origins.
Like passion, get back to the passion when we started.
Yeah, why we wanted to do this.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a really fun feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like having a garment business, even despite a global pandemic, this kind of like expansion and contraction of the business, especially with a wholesale business, is like sort of part of the deal. Probably not as drastic as it is right now, but like I've spoken to so many like different sized brands and there seems to be like, a big contraction happening right now, but it seems semi-familiar to a lot of people. And like, I can also relate, like I haven't had my business anywhere near as long, but, it's like you're going back to the beginnings. It's like you've grown something and you're going back to the beginnings. Like how has your production been affected by all of this? Like have any factories closed down from the lockdown, closed down permanently, anything like that?
Well, in March, April,
everything.
So now, majority of products made in Los Angeles, and then they shut down in April. So we needed to stop the production for a while, and then at the moment we didn't know when they are going to come back. So, but at the same time we have to predict for sales plan, the schedule. So that's really stressful moment at the time.
Yeah. And of course it's stressful for the stores as well because for a lot of them we had just shipped them their goods and and they were closed down and not able to sell. A lot of them were online and they're able to keep moving stuff, but it'll be interesting to see not only how things, we're really lucky that our production is going really well right now.
That's great.
Knock on wood, right? Because we don't know. There might be another LA shutdown. But everything has been going really well. And we've been really lucky that our stores seem to be surviving really well. In terms of factories, I think that even before the pandemic, because of the changes in international trade, and we make things in the United States, but our suppliers and our factories use components from all over the world. So we were already seeing factories struggle because they couldn't get the components they're used to getting at the same price. And so they're having to rethink what they were doing. So I think the lead up to the pandemic was already sort of shifting things in the United States, in some ways for the better, because it was motivating people to be making things, you know, all of the trade changes were motivating people to be making things in the United States more, but it was also creating supply chain problems for the components needed to make things in the United States.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic just sort of, you know, like everything else, it just exaggerated all of the problems and made everything a lot more challenging.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's such a globalized market, globalized world that like everything is sourced from all over the world now. And it really, you know, trade relationships are like so important to keep an eye on and to maintain. So, I mean, Trump's trade relationship with China has kind of like really, probably for many companies in America have kind of been really drastically affected by that. Yeah. I want to move back to focus on the brand, and I'm really interested in what your design process is like. Where do you get your inspiration each season? How do you go through that process? Like, where does your creative juice come from?
You mean you're talking about in general, or?
Yeah, like for example, for my design process, for example, like I go flea market. I go to a lot of flea markets. I look at history and like I kind of figure out what points of time in history reflect kind of what's happening today, and that's kind of where I go from. But everyone has a different approach. How do you figure out?
So basically, I get inspiration from traveling and then you know, like a outdoor activity, and but more like a fundamental. My idea for the designing is like the feeling of my teenager. I was really into for clothing, especially for like American clothing. So this is a kind of like a base in my mind. And at the moment when I was high school or a college student, you know, I didn't have enough money to buy everything. So I used to have a lot of catalog to have an image in my mind.
Nice.
So yeah, so me like a catalog for like old Patagonia catalog, like LL Bean, that kind of thing. For me, like looking at catalog is kind of like makes me the feeling of actually traveling or do some like outdoor activity wearing this gear.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so and then now getting, you know, year past and then getting old, and then now I start to create the feeling what I felt at the moment, and then that's a kind of like a base in my mind, and then by traveling and activity, and then that's all together combined in my mind, and then it creates as a clothing. Yeah, the fabric, color, texture, everything.
You before the pandemic, I feel like you were traveling a lot. I think maybe you guys were working on minimizing the travel to focus on the family, but you still have to travel a lot for the business. Like I think I bumped into you in Tokyo one time, Shinya.
Shinya, I think.
Yeah, like
right.
Tell me about your kind of travel schedule. Was it mainly like to do with sales, like going around to different places for sales, or was it to do with production, a mixture of everything?
Yeah, mainly for my main purpose for traveling is the sales. Yeah, because New York used to we used to have an office, so I used to go travel for, you know, the sales, and also we used to make clothing in a New York factory, so I also need to go to take a look for every process. And for traveling to Japan was also mainly for sales, so twice a year. Yeah. I used to go.
What do
And
you?
then we also try to go for family and friends too. Like we try to tack on some time at the end so that we can.
Yeah.
I used to live in the countryside in Japan, and we have a group of friends that we always go stay with out there.
Where did you live?
It's now been absorbed into a town, into a city, but back then it was called Maruyama Machi, and it was sort of in between Tateyama and Kamogawa in the Chiba Peninsula, like at the very
there's a peninsula in the map, like a peninsula, but you used to live in the very south.
Yeah.
Like Chiba's already had, like, it's already, there's like no train from Tokyo. Like, I mean, like local train, right? You have to kind of drive out there.
Oh, there's a local train. What is it? The Sotobo or the Uchibo? I don't remember which one it is. But you have to do. There's no direct train, and then there are buses and stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually that was the neat thing is I was so deep in the countryside, but I got to go to Tokyo on the weekends to hang out, nice. And it didn't take that long. Yeah.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite thing to do when you go back?
I think eating. There's so many
good, eel.
Yeah. Unagi.
Yeah, there's a restaurant
Unagi
called
restaurant.
Unajin, near where I used to live, and they have the main restaurant in a big old house, but then they have little cabins around it that you can go. Like each is a private thing, and there's a stream running next to it, and
that really
is so delicious.
Oh, and then there's a ramen restaurant that's again out of somebody's house, and it's like a fish-based soup, and it's right by the beach, so you can go surfing and then have a big ramen meal afterwards, but it feels healthier because the soup is not pork-based.
Oh yeah, true, totally.
Yeah,
and you just
it's a lighter
surfing,
but
so
like very rich. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So did you guys meet in Japan or in the States?
In New York.
Oh, cool.
I had just moved back, I guess not from Japan. I'd moved back for grad school from Japan, and I was in Arizona, and then I moved to New York, and he had been there for about the same time I was in Japan. So I recognized that feeling when you've been living someplace long enough to start feeling like it's home. Like I could see it in his face, and I was like, I hope he picks it, that he's going to stay here. I was scared for the first year that we were dating that he was going to move back, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I moved to New York 2002. 2002. And
I got there in 2006.
Yeah, we met 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd gotten to know the spots, and then you were kind of in this kind of pivotal moment in your life. Then Carrie walked in. I've really loved watching all the activities you guys do with the kids, especially
Thank you.
the stop motion films that you've been making in the garden with your kids' toys. Yeah, Ultraman. Yeah. For someone who grew up in Thailand, Ultraman in Thai, it's we call it Uttaman, and he's a true hero for kids. So I was so proud to see Ultraman.
Our son was super into Ultraman.
He used to remember every time when I go to Japan, I used to bring back the plastic toy, and then he remember all characters.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then we took him to an Ultraman convention or a festival or something. It was all of these Ultraman related vintage toys and activities, but then it ended with this big performance where
the Barton staging,
the one with
big scissors.
Yes.
So
this guy show up
in the stage
on the stage, and he starts screaming, and
Alex he was, and the very polite or ushers came over there is something wrong with your son, because he was terrified, screaming, so we had to carry him.
Yeah, we need to get out from the.
Yeah, and ever since he hasn't been as into Ultraman, but he does like making the stop motion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
it's
kind of
super
traumatized him.
creative. It's super duper creative. Like I really enjoy watching all this like activities. Shinya, have you started teaching the kids how to surf a bit too late yet?
Yeah.
That's
We try to
fun.
take them to the beach as much as we can. And then now, May, our daughter, she's
little one,
really
4-year-old.
into. So
Yeah,
I put her
that's
in my
rad.
back and then paddling together. And
she's really proud of her wipeouts. She, like
Oh.
to us, it looks like a little tiny wave hitting her, and to her, she's like, and then I was tossed underwater, and there was a shark, and there was all of this stuff, and I was trying to save the surfboard, and she's got all of this stuff going on.
Last time when I put her in a surfboard and she wiped out, and I thought, oh, this might be over.
And
then
she's like,
she came up, and
she's like,
yeah, I like it.
Next time I'm gonna wipe out harder.
Yeah, that's the real spirit. That's when you know that like she's going to be an awesome surfer.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's move back to the brand and yeah, I'm really, but no, this is like super fun. I'm curious, like, what is your plan right now for like are you doing the online platforms for the trade shows, or like are you just doing private showings in your studio? How are you kind of navigating the new, I hate this word, new normal, because I don't really vibe with that, but
we
how are you
are going to use a online platform, which is we have been using for a while.
Yeah.
And then we don't do an actual trade show
except in Japan.
We have a distributor in Japan, so they will do in Tokyo. In other country, no, we just communicate through.
Like Shinya said, we've been doing this for years, and actually some of our biggest accounts order from us just looking at our online stuff. They'll be like, oh, I wish we had time to come see you in New York, but your online material is good enough. So I'm not too worried about it. It's interesting. There are a lot of people reaching out to us saying, you know, since Battenwear is well suited for the current situation, you know, like thank goodness we don't make suits or ties or whatever, but it seems like a lot of people can like feel like Battenwear is their uniform for the quarantine, which is really nice. And we certainly have been enjoying our Battenwear in new ways. But yeah, a lot of people are reaching out and being like, now's the time that you should be trying to reach new customers. And our feeling is we're really grateful for the customers that we have, and we want to develop those relationships. And we're not going to like try to join a trade show platform or anything like that. I think now is when we really want to be focusing on the relationships we have and developing those. And I'm sure there'll be, you know, a couple new stores here and there, but yeah. And I think we've taken the last year really to spend time figuring out what we do well and what works best for our customers. So I think we're well poised to move into this new era.
Yeah, I think like what's interesting is like, you know, we live in the 22nd century, like everything is online today. Like we live in a very kind of virtual environment. And I think brands should be adapting to this kind of landscape, even just like if there was a pandemic or not. I've been doing like private showrooms. There's a lot of customers that can't make it to the shows. And you do your like virtual, appointments. And I feel like, there was a kind of freak out where, you know, the pandemic happened. Everyone was like, oh, I better shift online suddenly. And like, as you said before, the pandemic kind of uncovered a lot of it already existing, really kind of like main, you know, the cracks in the pavement, basically, of like how things work and how we need to kind of shift into this kind of new world. But it's super interesting.
And all the waste, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the big cracks that has been exposed is all the way, like the overproduction. And, ultra consumerism and I mean,
globalized supply chain, as you said before. Yeah, totally. Like fast fashion. I feel like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think fast fashion is on the out, is on the way out, or just like 2008 when we saw like the financial crisis and we thought that like fast fashion was on its way out? It kind of stayed around and it kind of got like way faster in a sense. Do you
get way faster?
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
I hope it will go away, but yeah.
I mean, I think that the best thing we can hope for is that the number of people who realize fast fashion is not only bad for the planet, but also sort of bad for their souls, you know, like bad for lifestyle choices, it's bad for so many things.
I think bad
I hope
for
that
your
the number
soul
of people
really
will grow.
nailed it. Yeah. It kind of there's on so many levels. It's bad for your soul, like in the way you consume on a fast pace, and you throw things away on a fast pace. It's soulless on how it kind of it preys on your most vulnerable part of who you are, and your self-image and your self-esteem, and like kind of like a lot of things. It's really interesting. What do you think next year is gonna look like?
You
in general?
Yeah.
The post-apocalyptic world.
What's the post-zombie apocalypse gonna look like?
First of all, the zombie will coming to the shopping mall. I'm kidding.
Is that the fast fashion zombie?
The fast fashion zombie, yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you a better question. I actually want to ask you a better question. What is your zombie apocalypse escape plan? Go.
Well, we have a lot of bunnies in our yard, the wild bunnies, and we've been fattening them up so that if we need to eat them, we can.
Nice.
We haven't learned. I've asked Shinya, and I don't think that he's complied yet, but I've asked him to learn how to hunt and skin a rabbit. That's what he has to research.
Trapping.
Yeah. But I'm actually a big apocalyptic fiction fan, so nice. I have lots of.
Yeah, she used to write for.
So that's what I was doing when Shinya recruited me. I was writing a book about it. Anyway, I'll get back to it one of these days. I'll have time to write again when the kids are a bit older and Battenwear is in its teenage years.
You'll have a lot of inspiration, real life experience and inspiration from it. But
it's true.
Yeah, I feel like a Battenwear rabbit trap might be on the way. Battenwear fishing gear.
Well, I don't. This is probably something I'm not sure whether Shinya wants me to talk about this, but one of the things that we have been interacting with our customers more on is like upkeep for their Battenwear. Which I think is something that Patagonia does really well. And there are other brands that do it really well, where you can trade it in for credit, or you can send it in for repairs and stuff like that. And that's something we've always done. Like if our customer has a problem with their items, then we do our best to fix it. But the thing that has come up recently is snap buttons. So we had some issues with snap buttons not being as tight as they should have been. And so we've started sending out kits, and I feel like to fix it yourself. And I feel like that this is the kind of thing, you know, we're not going to be able to send out rabbit traps, but like things like that we can help so that people, you know, when your snap breaks, you don't feel like you have to throw your garment away, which you never should have felt like that. But the way that we've been trained and the way that we've learned to overbuy things, I think that's the tendency. And so if we can teach people how to fix their own snaps, it's cool. It's like a little thing. You have to use a hammer, and it's kind of fun. So we've started sending some of these out if people need them. Of course, there are also... Sorry, go ahead.
I think aftercare is such a real reflection of a brand's values. Because it's a real telltale sign to see if, you know, that people are making product to last, and if they're really, and how customer orientated they are as a brand.
Right.
Like Barbour do nice kits, aftercare kits, for their jackets, you know, and they've been doing them for I don't know how many. Are they like they're more than 100 years old, I think. Don't quote me on that, internet, but
they have,
and
that should be, you know, the
that
clothing
should be.
Because, you know, when I was a kid, when I have a hole in my pants, and my mother used to fix it. That's
right.
You know,
not like
that should be the clothing. If you have a tear and then, you know, hole.
Yeah.
I used to just fix it. So that's what should be.
Right. So that's a hope for after the apocalypse, you know, like people probably are more inclined to do that. I mean, I think everyone went through their weird beginning of pandemic freak out, right? Like people made a lot of bread. I suddenly started saving all of our like green onion scraps and putting them in water to regrow them. And, you know, it's like everyone has that thing that they do. And I bet a lot of people, we were always fixing our clothes and taking care of our clothes. But I hope that a lot of people started doing that during the pandemic as one of their little hobbies.
Yeah. I feel like people have suddenly found time. Like, I think, you know, we found ourselves in this kind of like chasing our tail of like never having enough time, and suddenly we have time. I feel like that is the main thing that we need to focus on in the post-zombie apocalypse, is like keeping that time, man. And you know, like it's not even hard. Like it's all in your head. Like we can make a bit of time, a pocket of time every single day, even if it's a tiny pocket of time, we can make that, push it aside every single day, and like be disciplined enough to keep that little pocket of time every day. But we find ourselves kind of like almost like wasting a lot of time, or finding things to fill time with, like unnecessary things. So yeah, I really hope that the zombies will be able to teach us how to keep time.
Yeah, and the idea of priority, right? Like my kids have always been my number one priority, but it's very easy to say, sorry, I have to go to work because that is how we're going to pay for your future. And that's still very true. And we still need to figure out how in the world we're going to be able to get enough work done while we're homeschooling them as well in the fall. But they are my priority. And like this, it's actually been really enjoyable. Not always.
No.
But for the most part, it's been really enjoyable to do homework with the kids and to be spending time learning about things together and making the little movies and stuff like that. Like having this enforced time has really crystallized my priorities in an important way. And I think that even if I don't feel like I still have that pocket of time after all of this ends, I will still have that reorganization of my priorities.
Yeah. It's
like almost, that'll last.
Yeah. And I feel like not just, even if people don't have kids, like sacrificing a little bit of the now to do good for the future generations that's like that idea drawn out into a more kind of bigger picture. It's like just stop being selfish, people. Like your world is bigger than yourself, and we're actually all doing this not for our lifetimes, but we're doing good things for the next generation and their kids, and But I feel hopeful. I feel good about the potential that can be.
Right.
Yeah. That this time has, brought us. But well, thanks so much, guys, for chatting on the show. If people want to check out Battenwear, how can they visit online?
It's just our website is battenwear.com. We have I guess we're working on SS20 right now on the website, and we'll start launching FW Fall Winter 20 in September. God willing.
Fingers crossed. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Have you started making a collection for next year for Spring 21 yet?
Yes.
So sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. That's going to be the challenge. Yeah. So that. But we're definitely we have pieces coming together, and it's that'll be in September as well. That'll launch it.
The theme will be zombie.
Yeah, zombies, exactly. Yes. Zombie I really look forward to all the creativity of the zombie. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, guys. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.